Hello everyone. For those of you that don't know, there has been a rather viral video from the YouTube channel Cut going round called So What Exactly Are White People Superior At? From their series Keep It 100 Black in America. And as you can see, somehow Cut has 10 million subscribers, even though my content is better than theirs. But at least for this video, the ratio of dislikes to likes is exactly what it deserves. And we'll get into the video later, but a lot of people have been reacting to this video on YouTube. I'm going to be one of them nearer the end of this video, but a lot of people haven't actually seen other videos from Cut, because a lot of it is just projection from upper normies. And for those of you that don't know what I mean by an upper normie is essentially a middle/upper class person who, when they talk about politics, have nothing to talk about but their trendy opinions. I.e. racism is bad, white people are terrible, and orange man bad, with no real thought behind their principles or why they are voting. So I've got a selection of 3 videos that I am going to react to because it's 2016, and because I thought it would be interesting to go to see how upper normies react to some of their questions. So the first one is called Are You Racist? And it asks 100 normie Americans, not all of them black, if they are racist, and basically just sees how they react from there. And it is fairly interesting, so let's jump into it.
Are you racist?
No. No, definitely. Well, hold on.
Now this is a standard upper normie reaction. He said, no, I'm not racist, definitely not, because the guy probably isn't, to be honest. But then he realised, oh, hang on, I'm white? I'm probably supposed to say that I am racist, because a lot of normies believe that to be white is to be racist.
Are you racist?
Whoa.
Oh, am I what?
A racist?
Am I racist?
Yeah.
I should hope not.
What kind of question is that? I wasn't expecting to get asked that. I'm like, no?
No.
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 Hell no.
That is a multi-layered question.
Now these are perfectly standard responses. I'd probably react the same if I was just directly asked, am I racist? I'd be like, what sort of question is that? And obviously most people would instantly answer no, because most people aren't racist. But then we get to the black guy at the end who said, oh, that's a multi-layered question. And the video doesn't go into it, but it'd probably go into a bit of a rant about power plus prejudice equals racism, and, you know, I'm black, I can't be racist, but I have biases to white people. That'll essentially be his answer. And I only know that because people literally answer that later in the video. But it's interesting to see the reaction, because the older generation seem to be like, no, of course I'm not racist, you know, I'm progressive, I'm for treating everyone equally, which is perfectly fine and perfectly valid, and I completely believe them. But the younger generation, due to presumably college education for these young adults, which has pumped their brains with basically misinformation on exactly what racism is, so they have to actually think about it, when someone like me would just go, no, I'm obviously not racist. I have gay friends after all.
Well, let's get into it.
I say the N-word when I'm by myself and listening to rap songs.
See, something like that, saying the N-word when you're on your own, like, to some people that'd be high crime racism, but if you're just singing rap lyrics, no one should care, and especially if you're doing it alone, it shows that you're hyper aware that some people may find the term racist, but it's usually white people.
I've seen a black man like walking towards me and I cross the street, but I'm always in my head like, please know that this is because you're a man, not because you're black.
Another interesting reaction. You know, if she thinks the guy thinks she's racist, that's worse than if she thinks he's sexist because he's a man. And she just openly says, yes, it's because you're a man, I don't want to be walking on the same side of the street as you. Which, don't get me wrong, I could understand if a massive man is walking down the street, you'd be a bit intimidated. But again, that goes beyond just thinking he's a man, so I wouldn't say it's sexist anyway.
Are you racist?
I'm not racist, but I'm a server, so, you know, like, I know races. Like, how do I word it without sounding racist?
See, this is what I mean by the upper normies. Like, if they do react saying, oh, you know, I'm not racist, they will go, but, and they will add something onto it to say, you know, oh, maybe there is a bit of bias here, there, and everywhere. Whereas I think most people watching this channel would go, you know, no, I'm not a racist, end of story. Wouldn't need to qualify it because most of us know exactly what racism is, which is just prejudice or discrimination against people of a certain race. Whereas with these people, it's beyond that, it's plus power, which is why I think a lot of white people saying they're not racist are going, but, you know, etc.
I have definitely like stereotyped people before.
I'm just like a stereotype.
The stereotypes.
Like what?
White people smell, they can't cook, they can't dance.
Asian people can't drive.
African American men, they have something that's bigger than everybody else.
I was just talking about with my friend, setting her up with my other friend, and I'm like, but you know, he's Asian, so he probably has a small penis. And I was like, fuck, why did I say that? Why did I think that?
They just kind of pop up. I tell myself to shut up.
You see, the whole thing about stereotyping here, for some reason, I do find it interesting how if it's against an Asian person or a white person, it's always a negative stereotype and everyone feels bad for it. And, you know, to be fair to the black guy here, he did say his stereotypes of white people, you know, he could see it was bad. It was bad to stereotype them like that, and that's fine. But when it came to stereotyping an African American, as the white guy said, you know, it's about, you know, his dick being bigger than average. And still he's embarrassed about that, which, alright, fair enough. And they seem to be doing it in a jokey way. And honestly, I don't think people who joke about racial stereotypes and things like that are racist. I think they just like dark humour, which is different to taking it seriously. It's just interesting how people react to stereotyping, really. They're embarrassed, and honestly, I don't think they should be.
Are you racist?
Only when I'm driving.
Are you racist?
Jokingly.
I tell racist jokes. I like to make a lot of jokes. Sometimes they're race jokes.
I do make a lot of racist jokes.
When I was younger, I'd like make a lot of jokes about it, but I realized like what are these like jokes actually saying, and like what am I communicating about people through the way I choose to make people laugh.
Again, same thing. These people are just joking about racial stereotypes and things like that. I don't have a problem with that. I just think the field should be fair for everyone. Everyone should be able to make racial jokes about every other race. Because the only people who are going to be offended are the people who take their racial identity seriously. Which I don't care about, because the only thing that you should really be taking seriously is your local identity, which includes your nation, your town, whatever. Because that is where your identity is rooted in, and that is what you should be aiming to protect and improve. Whereas when it comes to racial identity, I mean, what, you mean the whole of Europe? You mean the whole of Africa? You can't improve something that large when you yourself are so small. Look more locally, you can improve your nation. And if you improve it enough, you might even improve others.
Are you racist?
No.
No, not even a little bit.
I wouldn't say that I'm racist nor I'm capable of it.
Didn't anyone tell you black people cannot be racist?
Black people can't be racist.
And why is that?
Racism is an institutionalized thing. I don't think black people have set up institutions powerful enough to like oppress other people.
Yep, that's the big one. We've now had 2 black people saying they can't be racist because they're black. And when the guy's challenged on it, he just says, well, black people haven't made institutions that can oppress people. Obviously, he hasn't seen enough footage of Black Lives Matter going around New York and interrupting people's dinners to make them kneel. But then similar excuses are made for this type of behaviour, such as, well, white institutions, quote-unquote, have been around longer and oppressed more, and for some reason that gives a free pass to this type of behaviour when it comes to Black Lives Matter. And also, for God's sake, every single major corporation supports Black Lives Matter. To say that you don't have institutions is ridiculous. And it's not even worth engaging in that argument because it's just not the definition of racism. It's never been a definition of racism apart from some niche circles in colleges in America and in the UK as well, it seems.
I think I can be prejudiced, but I'm not racist.
I'm prejudiced.
I feel like I'm biased when it comes to white people, honestly, because I don't tend to give them the benefit of the doubt because they come into this world with so much privilege, and I need to work on that.
See, I find her answer interesting. I mean, the people who are just like, oh, I'm prejudiced but not racist. No, that's wrong. At least that black woman at the end did have the, you know, heart to say, okay, I'm biased against white people. I don't give them the benefit of the doubt because of the bullshit about privilege. But at least she goes, yeah, I need to work on that because I don't think that's right. You know, good. We need more of that. You know, all right, she's still biased against white people. Yeah, still bad, but hell, she's working on it. That's a lot better than most of the people in this video can say. But it's just interesting how you can be open in saying, yeah, I'm biased and prejudiced against white people, but it's okay because I'm black. Whereas you do it the other way around, like, holy shit, say goodbye to your job, son.
Can black people be racist?
I'm sure black people can be racist. I think anybody can be racist.
Being a light-skinned person growing up in Kenya, there's definitely a colorism issue going on where darker-skinned people are usually looked at differently than lighter-skinned people.
And at least some people do realise that absolutely anyone can be racist. And even the pale, dark-skinned guy at the end, I don't know what you'd call that, even he's admitting, like, in Kenya, he calls it colorism. Because I think it's because, I can't really tell from the way he said what he said, but I think it's because light-skinned people are looked down upon in Kenya. I think is what he was going after, but he calls it colorism instead of racism, even though colorism is literally just racism by a different name. But again, these people obviously understand that racism is bad, even when it's done from a black person to a white person, which is good. This is the attitude I think we should all have. Just racism bad, it's not fucking difficult.
If you have like hate towards like a certain group of people, you are racist.
I think my dad's a racist.
My father was pretty racist.
Well, no shit, he was probably born in the 19th century. But as we can see, you've clearly moved on from that, learned from his mistakes, and become less racist because of it. Good. We should be improving in these small little sections, not doing what the progressives want and have a full structural overhaul, which ends up just making different problems, and in most cases, worse problems.
I have some family that are racist.
I do have relatives that are definitely racist towards Japanese. I also have relatives that are racist towards black people.
Like, do you ever challenge them, or are you like, Grandma, come on?
Nah, I let her have it.
I mean, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. I don't really blame him for that. But again, he's learning from the way his grandma acts.
Are you racist?
No.
No.
Oh, no, never.
No.
How do you know?
Just know that you don't hate people.
I feel like you know, right? Like if you have to tell people that you're not racist, that to me is a great sign that you're racist.
Are you racist?
No. I mean, if I am, please someone tell me, because that's so disappointing.
Are you racist?
I've been told I am. I was like kind of getting upset because I was tired of hearing about if you're white and Christian, you're racist and you get away with everything. I was like, how can you say that?
Yeah, pretty much. That guy understands it. I mean, he doesn't say it, but I think he's implying that, you know, if he's being called racist for being white and Christian, like, you know, how's that not just racism in front of his face? I think that's what he's implying. And I think most people do generally agree with that. It's just unfortunate that most corporations and most people who have gone through the long march through the institutions don't agree with that. Which is why it's good that the right wing's making some of its own, such as Sargon's Lotus Eaters and Academic Agents' Foundations of Economics. Which, by the way, if you like either of them, I would subscribe to and do Academic Agents' Foundations of Economics course. I hear it's good. I do not have the time or money to do it myself yet, but don't get me wrong, I am planning to do it sometime in the future.
Yeah, I'm racist because I'm a white person.
I think all white people are racist.
We have just been put into this system designed to empower our white privilege. As a white person, I am super racist.
I know a lot of people like to say, yes, I'm a racist, because that makes them feel like people know that I'm admitting my faults. But like, I think that's a weird like cop-out.
Yeah, we have a bunch of white people there basically saying, yeah, I'm racist because of the system. I mean, they don't actually do anything to change the system, and the woman at the end just makes the point. They're literally just virtue signaling. It's like, yeah, I'm white, therefore I'm really racist. They don't do anything about it. They don't do anything that they think helps change. So it's just a virtue signal. And then, as she says, it's like, oh, some people just say, yeah, I'm a racist. It makes them feel better because it's virtue signaling. And she's right, it is a cop-out, because they're not going to change anything about their behaviour that they actually think's racist. Probably because most of the time they're not actually racist. They just say they are, as I say, to virtue signal and make themselves feel better. It's completely pointless, and honestly, I don't think it can be good for your mental health. Because you are essentially disgusted with your own skin. And yeah, if you're not comfortable with literally your own skin colour, and you think there's nothing you can do to change that, yeah, your mental health isn't going to go to good places.
Have you experienced racism?
Oh, heck yeah. I grew up in the South.
I mean, it happens every day, really.
I've been slammed on cop cars. I've had, guns pulled out on me from police officers.
I mean, I can totally believe that a black woman growing up in the South has experienced some form of racism or another. But that black guy as well saying, oh, I've been slammed on cop cars, I've had guns pulled on me. It's like, is that due to racism? We can't really tell. It's something that I constantly go through. Just because a cop is doing his job to you doesn't mean that it's because of racism. I've seen enough Louis Levi's Copcast to know that. Because this exact same stuff happens to white people, and actually I believe the stats bear out that when it comes to amount of policing in an area, no matter the race, it pretty much lines up. Like, there's no correlation between black people and getting shot more. But there we go, these things turn out to be hate facts. There's just more examples of how people have experienced racism. There's not too much to say, I take them all at their word. And it's obviously more direct racism than the example that we had before, but I'll just skip a bit and move on to more people being asked if they're racist.
Are you racist?
Am I racist? Who isn't, to some extent?
I think everyone's racist.
I think everyone. Everybody? Everybody is racist. The human experience is to have difficulty stepping outside of yourself.
I know that I will always make mistakes.
I think I'm part of the society that enables racism.
We live in a white supremacist culture and society.
And we need to actively work every day.
So it's a continual process to unlearn things.
I find it absolutely fascinating how That one little bit, that little montage of everyone saying, yes, we're all racist. We live in a white supremacist society that perpetuates race and things like that. Every single one of those people was a woman. Every single one. I'm not saying that men didn't say these things. It's just that little montage of that must have been about 20 people. Every single one of them was a woman. That's what I mean by upper normies. A lot of upper normies with these opinions do tend to be women, because women do tend to want to be accepted, and the way they think that they get accepted, having these high status opinions. And it is absolutely high status to say we live in a racist white supremacist society and we need to unlearn our racism, etc, etc, etc. But not a single man that they've shown anyway, when put in front of this camera and asked this, not a single one says we live in a white supremacist society. Not even the black guys. Apart from that one who implied it by saying, well, there's no black institutions to oppress people. They managed to get a montage of 20-odd women saying the exact same thing. It's just incredible. And this is part of the problem. We need to change this from being a high-status opinion to one that is openly mocked, as it should be. You can't have a black president and then have Donald Trump in power, only to make gains in all minority votes after 4 years of being in office, and call it a white supremacy. That is retarded. And the video ends with just some people explaining how they used to be racist and got over it, blah, blah, blah. We don't need to know that. It's not particularly interesting. But I am glad to see that people can change. And in the last few clips cases, it was changing for the better. I just thought that was a little interesting thing with a lot of different races saying what they thought about racism. And it turns out that actually it seems that gender seems to be the biggest split on what racism is, not race. At least from those 100 people. But now we'll get into the main video, one that everyone's been reacting to, because honestly it's pretty interesting, so I won't waste your time anymore, we'll just get into it.
What exactly are white people superior at?
Oh, well, according to television, everything. A white man could fly. Even a white woman, she could be 4'1", she knew karate, she could take down 15 people.
I mean, I agree that there's a Mary Sue epidemic, but if you're really going to imply that there are no black superheroes, like, come on. Did you forget about the massive hype that Black Panther have, only for it to be a shit film that no one can say is a shit film? Ugh, anyway, let's get into it.
What are white people superior at?
Man.
Oh, God.
What are white people superior at?
I mean, I'm generally fine with these reactions. Some of them seem to basically be reacting in the sense of, well, what the hell type of question is this? And honestly, none of them seem to really think that white people are superior to them in terms of an entire race, which, you know, I'm fine with because when you end up looking at people individually, as you should, it turns out that you can only really compare people individually and not on a racial level. Now, that is not to say that there is no such thing as racial differences. I mean, skin colour being the obvious one. The whole problem is around the emotive language of superior. If I were to say black people are superior at not getting skin cancer, that would be true due to the melanin in their skin that reflects the UV light from the sun. Now, it would be true, but the problem is the whole emotive language around the word superior. I prefer saying, you know, black people are better at not getting skin cancer than other races. They're also better at running events in the Olympic Games, hence quite a lot of black people end up in the finals. And similar is true with white people in swimming. To some people this would be a racist thing to say, but to me it's not. So this is why, in some cases, as we're about to find out, I have problems with some things said than others. But let's get into it.
They just keep talking, mostly about their pets.
White people love their dogs, like that's all you see.
I mean, this next minute or so I don't have much of a problem with. It's just funny jokes about white racial stereotypes, such as we love dogs, we make really bland food, we smell whatever. Stuff I'm not too bothered about. These are people clearly not taking the question seriously, as I don't think you should. So I'll try and get to the more serious points.
What exactly are white people superior at?
Smelling funky.
Sorry, I just had to react to this one, because she's got a cop with a KKK hood on and a shotgun pointing at a police car. And even she couldn't take the question seriously. Like, she's clearly part of the ACAB, BLM crowd. And they do tend to be some of the more anti-white parts of society. But even she couldn't take this question seriously, which I found pretty amazing.
Santa Claus.
Extreme water sports.
Corn mazes.
White people are great at having fun. That's a function of white supremacy because they just don't have as many stresses as we do.
Why right at the end of the people giving meme answers? I mean, one of them said Santa Claus, which I just... What? Don't even know what that means. They got a guy who can't wear a face mask properly saying, oh, well, they're better at having fun because they've not got as many stresses. Like, one of those two things aren't even correlated from what I can tell. But also he's just getting straight into, like, oh, we live in a white supremacy, therefore white people are having an easier time at having fun. I'm not being funny, but again, you have to look at individuals. Barack Obama, post-presidency, really seems to be having an awful lot of fun. Would you call him white? Because if you would, that means that the US has now never had a black president. But they've just really turned on a dime here, and now we're getting into people calling out white supremacy.
White people are very superior at their privilege and utilizing it. We do not have the privilege to do whatever and however we want to.
Yeah, man, I can take 10 Xanax, drive around in an Audi, shooting my AK-47 out the window. That's not going to get me arrested in any way, is it? Like, gee, they really do think there is a two-tiered system in the US, and I really can't see that being the case. Kyle Rittenhouse only just got out of jail because of bail, and he's still going to court for defending himself. And by the way, he had to pay like $2 million in bail, which was raised by like the local community and the internet. Clearly this white kid cannot go around doing what he wants, you arrogant fool.
What exactly are white people superior at?
Not getting arrested.
You know, I was driving down the street with, down the highway with a friend of mine who was white. When he's like, I'm just want to pull over and pee. And I'm in the passenger seat. And I was like, please don't. Because a black man thinks differently. If I pull over to the side of the road and pee, a cop is going to be right behind me to punish me.
Look, it's not white people's fault that you're fucking paranoid. You seriously think a cop is following you to wait for you to pull over to go out of the car and piss? Are you taking the piss? Just this is the thing. They will put their paranoia, they will project their paranoia and blame it on someone else. They'll blame it on Whitey. You know, white people are better at using their privilege. It's like, what do you mean? It's a crime for anyone to piss in public. You would get arrested whether he was black or whether he was white. It's got nothing to do with your race, and stop trying to make it out like it is. The stats do not bear this out.
What exactly are white people superior at?
Insecurity? Pretending?
Fear. Being fearful of nothing.
Being ignorant?
Blame.
Letting their egos control their every move.
Privilege.
Privilege. Feeling victimized.
Playing the victim.
Congratulating themselves over shit that they're incompetent at, or that should have already been done.
They're superior at being dicks.
Thought I'd just let that play out. I don't think there's a lot I need to say there. If you don't see projection in that minute of the clip, there's not an awful lot I can do for you. Because honestly, they're saying things like, oh, white people are better at being scared, they're better at being dicks. And, you know, playing the victim, where I'm here doing absolutely nothing as a white guy. You know, most of America, white America, are going to be like this, just going about their business, not giving a fuck about black people or them at all. And they're the ones saying, like, oh, you know, it's the white people who are fearful, it's the white people who are scared of us, you know, we're the superior ones, things like that. It's like, I'm sorry, this is just pure projection. This is pure projection. No one is thinking about you. Stop thinking you are that special when it comes to your race, because you are not. It's unbelievable.
What exactly are white people superior at?
Oppression?
Gaslighting?
Those last two were paler than me. I thought you were getting black people on for this.
Lack of empathy.
Intellectualizing oppression.
Did I say oppression?
They're just creatively thinking of new ways of like always staying one step ahead of other people. If we get rid of slave catchers, then let's just expand the police force. Like, that stuff to me is wild.
These people are ridiculously radicalized. I mean, for a start, only one of those people in that montage was black. And secondly, that woman at the end, I mean, it was all pure projection again, but the woman at the end wasn't. She was just like, oh, you know, they're just trying to do what they can to stay on top in the world. So, you know, when they get rid of slavery, they get a police force. Does she not realise that, like, we had police forces and things to keep the law in order before slavery was abolished? And a lot of them go off the Peelian principles, or at least in theory they do. And at no point in the Peelian principles does it say, get them black people in jail. This is just pure radicalisation. None of this is based on fact. They just think that the police are evil and that, well, as you can tell, you know what they think of white people.
What exactly are white people superior at?
Making us believe that we don't matter.
Believing that they're superior.
Feeling superior.
Thinking they're superior.
Thinking that they're superior.
Thinking that they are superior.
Self-delusion.
Controlling the narrative.
Believing their own press.
Marketing of white superiority.
Just another quick fire round where there's absolutely nothing to say. I think I'm superior to black people, apparently. No. Just no. I just think I'm me and I'm superior to other individuals and inferior to others in different respects. Life is all about the individual. Seeing life in terms of race like you do gets you to complete incorrect conclusions and just divide you all. Not a great way to unify a nation, but hey, you seem to want America dead too. So what can I do?
Whether you are Republican, whether you're Democrat, whether you're conservative, like white people are really good at upholding white supremacy.
How about claiming that, they are actually a whole separate race, when actually white DNA comes from the black female?
What an odd way of putting things. No one's saying that white people are a different species to black people. That's not how we made racial categories. There are clear differences in the DNA, hence you have more melanin produced than white people. That's just one example of many, but then you go on to say that white people's DNA comes from the black female and point at yourself? You've never made a white baby. What are you talking about? And also, why are you implying that, there's no black male involved when you are procreating, you fucking idiot? This is what I mean, pure projection. She's like, oh, we live in white supremacy, white supremacy. Oh, by the way, literally every white person is made from a black female, i.e. me. You have a messiah complex when it comes to white people. Don't give me this superiority bullshit.
So what exactly are white people superior at?
Honey, lying, stealing, and cheating.
Manipulation.
Withholding information.
Lying.
Telling lies. What kind of lies? The lies of history. They say that history is written by the victor, but the victor could be replaced by the colonizer.
I hate to break it to you, but colonizers did tend to win the war in the local areas to then become leader of the local areas. And don't get me wrong, colonization did fuck up quite a lot of Africa. But they get into those arguments later. How this can be blamed on white people, I don't know, because these white people died over 100 years ago. So how it's got anything to do with us today, I don't know.
What are white people superior at?
Conquering.
Imperialism.
Imperialism.
Colonizing. Colonialism.
Colonization.
Colonization. They might be better at that than us and everybody else, really.
You fucking seen what China's been doing in Africa lately? Bloody hell, they've brought up quite a lot of African towns and villages. They are literally just sending as many Chinese to these towns as possible, literally making entire residential areas for them. Making little Chinese colonies. Alright, white people did tend to be quite good at colonizing if you're going to frame it this way. But apparently we've got worse at it and the Chinese are replacing us. But, we got to blame white people for some reason.
They ballsy. They rose up all over the world. And they walk into everybody's house and says, oh, this is nice. I'm going to take your shit. And they have no qualms about it. They can take anything, baby.
Well, I mean, when you look at British ex-colonies, quite a lot of them want to come back under British rule. Turns out when you say that we're bad at imposing common law, which is basically what you're saying, turns out colonies were better for that.
What exactly are white people superior at?
They're real good at violence.
Don't bring up the crime stats. Don't bring up the crime stats. Don't bring up the crime stats.
Genocide.
Oh, it depends what country you're talking about. The Dutch were pretty good at genocide, I'll give you that. The British, yeah, we have a couple under our name, I guess. Then again, you look more to Asia, rape of Nanking, pretty bad. China are currently in the middle of a genocide. But again, I suppose we should just ignore them because you just want to have a go at white people.
It's like stealing people's lives just because they feel like it.
If you are white and you know this is happening and you say nothing, then you're a killer too.
Does this guy know that slavery ended literally because white people saw what was going on and thought, yeah, this is obviously immoral and anti-Christian? They honestly do have this whole thing of thinking that white supremacy actually exists and that most white people in America are like a cross-burning KKK member. But no, pretty much no one in America believes that slavery should exist, and none of them think that genociding black people is a good idea. Your best example is finding someone like Richard Spencer, and even he's not for genocide, he's just there to say, maybe we should ship them all back to Africa. Which honestly, if these people want to move to Liberia, I don't see why they can't be given the option to go there. Oh, they do have the option to go there, and none of them move there. Oh, I wonder why. Probably because America's a better country for them.
What exactly are white people superior at?
Taking what's not there. Taking shit.
Taking our ideas.
Copycatting.
Don't bring up crime stats. Don't bring up we was kangs. Don't bring up crime stats. Don't bring up we was kangs.
Gentrification.
Appropriating things that do not belong to them.
Taking over other people's cultures and making you believe that they invented it.
Like fucking what? Seriously, what the hell do we take from other cultures? I'm saying we. I'm thinking on racial lines, but I really don't want to. But in your mind, when you think along these racial lines, what exactly have we taken and called ours? So they don't understand culture. They think that because, I don't know, tea came from China / well, we farm it in India, That means it's a Chinese and Indian thing. No, it's a British thing because the British people made the farms in India for the tea for the British Empire. And then it evolved to become a cultural phenomenon that quite a lot of people drink tea now in America. And guess what? Bloody America exported Starbucks and all that crap here. Now we've got a bloody coffee shop on every street. It's an American import, sure, but it's definitely part of British culture now.
Maybe they're thinking of it as repurposing. It's like recycle and repurpose.
As my grandma would say, them white folk, they'll take it if you don't copyright it.
I mean, yeah, literally everyone will take something if it's not copyrighted.
They are very good at destruction of land, destruction of people, destruction of humanness.
She was just choosing random things that sounded good and putting them in a sentence saying white people have destroyed these things. There's absolutely no thought behind what most of these people are saying, and it's very annoying. This video has literally just been put up by Cut, and it seems to just want to piss people off. Literally there just to seem to provoke, well, I mean, everyone who's an actual anti-racist from the looks of it. No one finds this video in any way good, hence it's got a dislike to like ratio of about 20-1.
What exactly are white people superior at?
White people are not superior with anything.
Nothing.
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 There's nothing.
Nothing.
I don't believe that they're superior in any way, shape, or form.
Just because our skin color is different, you're no better than me, you're no smarter than me. No superiority there.
I mean, assuming that most of these people are thinking along the lines of, you're not superior to me because I can't judge people entirely on a race, I would totally agree with them, but I think some of them may have been thinking, white people are not superior to me because I'm black and therefore superior, but it's quite hard to tell in that little montage at the end. Though I will say, if you are going to say, you're no superior to me, I would try and use proper English so that it's not an easy target to go, well, you're wrong. But there we go, that's all I had to say. So yeah, Cut, how they have 10 million subscribers, I don't know. Most of them must be bots, I suppose. I bet they've not lost any bloody subscribers over the past 2 months like most YouTubers bloody have. But anyway, I'll try not to rant too much about that. But yeah, that was pretty much it. Cut put out a couple of, well, there are actually more videos than that, but they put out a couple of videos talking about racism, and it's ended up just pissing off a lot of people because they're still talking about race as if intersectionality in any way has any kind of backing from any logical or rational disposition, which obviously it doesn't. And so for the people who still think in that way, I can only feel sorry for them and hope that intersectionality slowly bleeds out of public discourse. And the best way to do that, I think, is mocking them, which I hope this video has done. But that's everything I had for you today. So, as usual, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.